Morning, y'all. Hello. My last video was a response video, something that I've never done before, and I wanted to thank everyone for assisting me on my learning curve, both the camps that supported or understood my point of view and those who had issues with it. Both are equally fine. Everybody gets to be who they are. The response was to a video posted by a content creator who was advising from a very particular tone and mood about living on the road full time. And there's a big distinction between the term she chose, van life, and being a nomad. Van life can encompass doing that lifestyle on occasion, on the weekends, part-time and full-time. Van life also has the connotation of the fluff that's on social media and taking that fluff with a grain of salt. Viewer beware that many of those folks only post and film for what is going to get views, whereas nomads, in my humble opinion, are just living the life, enjoying their freedom from the typical societal constraints that we chose to let go of and make our own way the way we see fit. It was fascinating how the people who chose to comment on my response video, how they kind of fell into three basic camps. The ones who thought I was whining and complaining when I'm merely reporting on some pretty heavy inaccuracies on the part of someone. Another camp who was pretty riled that I wouldn't identify the poster of the video that I was responding to. I chose not to identify them because on social media, that's the only vote I have to not participate in sending views in a certain direction. And in this follow-up video, I will be including some clips from that original video to make some points and then move on. I don't begrudge anybody having a YouTube channel. I understand how difficult it is. I choose not to chase the monetization breadcrumb trail because that's even more difficult. But if you want to, go for it. I don't have a thing against newbies. I help facilitate a conversation about nomad topics every other weekend where newbies and old-timers take part and create a respectful, compassionate community. Other commenters wondered, well, why are you qualified to comment on this content? Well, one, I'm human. I get to point out inaccuracies that I see just because I'm alive on the planet. Two, I am a nomad, and I actually practiced in my driveway, in campgrounds, locally, to figure out what the heck for 2 years before I got on the road. And this is going on my 4th year as a full-timer, road-tested nomad. And if you look at the name of my channel and the 80+ nomad content videos I posted to actually help people do this lifestyle successfully, yeah, I think that qualifies me. So the inaccuracies sprinkled throughout that video. In this one, I'm going to concentrate on 3. And the first one, oh my God, I actually did some math. But I checked my figures several times, so I'm fairly certain they're accurate. But of course, let me know if you see something that isn't. What is it the kids say? Don't throw shade unless you've got the proper receipts.
Gasoline is ridiculous. It's at $3.59 a gallon, I believe, is the average. Well, if you are doing traveling in your van, if that's your goal, that money's going to add up real quick to a mortgage payment.
Not so fast.
It costs me approximately $75 if I'm on empty to fill my van.
Let's take her self-reported example of $75 to fill up her minivan tank And let's use the low end of the median mortgage payment, a more accurate measure of what the typical U.S. homeowner actually pays, and that would be, in the state of West Virginia, $1,161. It would take filling up her tank 15.48 times to add up to that $1,161. I did the math and came up with 21 gallons capacity for her tank. And going with the average of 22 miles per gallon for a minivan, that's 462 miles per tank. And in order to meet that mortgage value amount, that would mean traveling 7,151.76 miles per month. Could someone consistently travel over 7,000 miles a month? Sure. Is that likely? No. Now let's go to the boondocking example. Camping somewhere on legal public land that you can identify using online resources available to anyone. You can stay put for 2 weeks at a time, but let's say you need access to fresh vegetables more often than that, like this person does. And so do I, by the way. So you move once a week. 200 miles is more than generous to include travel to your next destination and stopping for groceries, water, and laundry. If you moved once a week and drove 200 miles each week, that equals $130. Just for comparison's sake, let's double that. 1,600 miles a month is $261. You never know what you're going to find.
I thought about all of these things and I'm like, this is definitely not for me. And especially after I took my trip to California. In California, I thought, oh, I'll be able to just park up against the ocean and I'll be able to spend days there. No, that was not the case. That was not the case. I had a very hard time finding places to park, and I ended up paying to stay in campgrounds. That wasn't the goal when I went out there, to stay in campgrounds that I was going to have to pay for. No, I thought I was going to be able to boondock it.
If you don't avail yourself of the plethora of apps, websites that will tell you where you can go, where you can't, what's legal, what's not, don't blame that on anybody but yourself. And not fessing up to that, that's an inaccuracy. And that's also contributing to the fear-mongering, which is basically, I guess, my main beef. And if you need to call me a Karen for that, fine. I'm looking out for other folks.
What are you going to do about pharmacy and getting your medications if you need them? I'm fortunate enough that I don't have any of that, praise the Lord. I have not had any medical issues whatsoever. I don't have to take any prescription medications. But what if you do? How are you going to handle that on the road? Let's talk water and electricity. Water's a big thing. How are you going to bathe and shower and do dishes? How are you going to heat your water? Well, you have to get your stove out. You have to put a teapot on there. You have to heat your water that way if you want to take a warm bath, right? What if you want to wash your hair? I've got really long hair. What if I want to wash my hair? I don't like to wash my hair in cold water.
The last one has a lot of smaller things feeding into it. I don't take prescription drugs either, but I have friends who do. And that hits upon the first contributing thread. It doesn't sound like she's availing herself of community out here. And of course, that's going to be isolating and just not fun. I wouldn't recommend it at all. So watching these friends figure out pretty quickly how to get prescriptions on the road, it's not that hard, a few clicks. So don't fearmonger that either.
A lot of work. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of work in van life that I don't think people really realize.
Oh baby, it does take work. Everything takes longer, and yes, it gets dirty, but you find ways to mitigate that, or just get used to not caring. So I'm planted pretty firmly in the camp of I don't need any more filling up the bucket of what the problems are. Can we please talk about solutions and focus our energy over there? If you go out on a trip and you get discouraged and frustrated, come home, practice on your home base, and figure out a better way to do it. Yes, living on the road is a huge learning curve. So cut yourself some slack and provide yourself the opportunity to try things out, see what doesn't work, adjust, and try again until it does. Or after you've given it that fair shake and you realize, no, that's not for me, then you can speak from experience. I guess I'll let one of my viewers who captured all of that into a very succinct and eloquent comment describe it for me. I have often talked about practicing in my videos, and I have talked about the apps that will definitely help you navigate on the road, but I don't recall a time where I did that much math. And that was a great opportunity to remind myself of how little I can spend on the road, on gas, as a nomad, because obviously I've been doing a lot of traveling myself. Didn't spend near that much on gas, but whatevs. So, in summation, do the math, do the research, do the practice, and decide for yourself based on your lived experience, so your decision making can be accurate.